go live and I'm in the middle of some kind of weird conversation that nobody really understands the context for. And it really kind of adds an element of comedy and also unprofessionalism in our professional pod. Hey guys, how's it going? We're live on the Metal Lab. It's an interestingly hot post-Canada Day, July 2nd. A lot of people got today off in lieu of course, Canada Day being on Sunday. So a lot of people, not me, got to enjoy a wonderfully warm day off. A little bit wet around where I am, but let's enough about my day. Let's talk about who's joining me today. I'm joined this week by Mr. Mike White, the slightly more tattooed than last time, Mike White. Hello. And I'm also joined by Jay.
Hi.
All right. So it's been a week in Heroclix, guys, and we like to start the show talking about our weeks in Heroclix. I had the least interesting week as far as Heroclix is concerned, though I did have a fun casual game on a day where everybody else was at a WKO. We had a little barbecue game. I had 600 points of, what did I play? I played, Generation X, using the Blink. She was my big point, the in-betweener Blink, along with my prize Shadow Cat that I earned from WKOs in the fall season. So it was a lot of fun to give that a little bit of a whirl, and it was I love 4-man all free-for-alls, as long as you get enough space between the map, and then everybody's actually not gunning for one person. No one team is super threatening, because what ended up happening is one corner of the map actually had all 4 of us fighting with at least one figure at one point, and then everybody was kind of on their own. It was a lot of fun. Amber herself, I think Amber might have put pictures up. I'm not sure, but so check it out on the Facebook. You might see a thing or two on that. But yeah, that was most of my HeroClix outside of course, testing for Canadian Nationals, which, as Mike reminded me, and much to my terror, is 2 weeks away. So, oh my gosh, do I need way more testing than I have been doing? I need to be, and unfortunately, I'm kind of locked into home. So me and Amber have been testing, and me and Amber have worked on a system that we no longer fight while we're testing. So our relationship is that much stronger. Good news on that front. But enough about my boring old casual game at a barbecue. Mike and Jay were at a WKO this weekend. Mike, you were playing, if I remember correctly.
I was going to say I should probably go first because Mike has more to talk about.
I guess the judge can start, you boring old man.
Do you want me to go over the top 8 now, or?
We can talk about the top 8 in a bit. Just go over your experience. Mike will talk about his games, then we'll talk about what.
I had other HeroClix this week. Wednesday was a lot of playtesting with Emily, which seemingly paid off.
Yeah, I heard she won something.
She won something or other, and it ended up turning out that she played against a similar team to mine 2 times that day, so worked out pretty good. And on Thursday was 401 Thursday casual, whatever. I wanted to play Movie Rocket and Groot with Chase Thor because Infinity War, and that's the only way to theme those a Thor and a Rocket, Groot, whatever. So I did that. I threw in Cosmo, who's the best HeroClix piece ever made, to move him on to Stormbreaker because movie, and Charlie X because basically the only prob option in the Cosmic keyword. And I went 1 and 2 because the team actually sucked with no movement attack. And I judged on Saturday, and that was good. But I can talk more about that later when we go over the top 8. And then last night I recorded an episode of Clixed Off, which is not up yet, I don't think, but that was good.
They don't have the pleasure of doing the live show like we do, but that's probably better for audio casting as well. You get so many weird things with audio stuff. I've been looking into Castbox. I know there's been some demand for having the show audio, but we do so much better as a video show, as I shove my hands into my eyes for some reason. Mike, regale us with your week.
Well, I mean, it was really one day as opposed to a week because work is that's just how work is. So really, weekends are my only time to play right now. And as mentioned, thankfully there's a WKO this past Saturday at 401. Sort of our big venue, our most played at venue. I decided to go with a team that I've only had one opportunity to play test, but it's partially using a pretty common idea of using one of the Avengers Infinity chases, equipping him with Mjolnir and, flurrying at range. But I chose to go with the Thor chase, mostly because it was one of the ones I pulled naturally. I haven't acquired all of the chases yet. I liked his numbers, and I have a really bad habit. 2-stop clicks is great, and I have a really bad habit also of missing usually at least one roll in there. So with Flurry, I felt like there was going to be missing, so there was an opportunity to gain those humility tokens and thus make him really start hitting as things went on. And what I wanted to mix him with, again, looking for theme, because, you want to get that bonus to map roll. Map is really huge nowadays. Really makes a big difference with the type of teams that are out there. You could shut down a lot of strategies just with map choice right away to start. So I went with Cosmic. And like Jay mentioned, I have Cosmo on there because he's like one of the greatest pieces ever made in Heroclix. I love him, and he's a good dog.
I was going to say, he is a good dog.
He's a good boy. Cosmo is good boy. I like very much. So I've been playing around with an idea of I equip him with Frognir or Frogglnir, or however the hell you're supposed to say it. Frognir. That's so hard to say. And that way it makes him a tiny good dog. I imagine we're going back in time and he's puppy Cosmo. and then I also throw on the team what I consider to be one of the best figures from AI and a hated figure of PJ Boland's, Unseen. I love Unseen, especially because I pulled 4 of them. It's pretty ridiculous. Anyway, and part of that idea is he's the taxi for Cosmo. I make Cosmo tiny, and then Unseen carries him around all over the place. I either have the option of having 2 outwits that both see through hindering, so I can always make Cosmo the person who's get rid of stealth, so somebody else can see him, or sometimes what I do is I actually choose to push him, and that gets him onto his special power, the one where it says he takes free action and chooses somebody and they can't take a power action. It's a great way to shut down Unimind, and it's also a great way to shut down Samcap doing call-ins or charging after she gets carried, because it's a free action to take a power action. Well, she can't take power actions, so you get rid of the whole call-in thing. Works really well, and I decided, I really wanted to practice this. I have my WKO win from last year to go for this year's Nationals. So it was nice to go into a WKO with that kind of freedom to play.
I have to interrupt for a second.
I was going to say, we just found out Emily's Nationals qualifiers for next year.
Yes.
So
yes.
It's a mixed bag because she's literally the first person to qualify for next year.
Yeah.
She has to grind.
Yeah. So, but we were working under the assumption when I was building, under the assumption that I thought that it was for this year. And since I already had one, I was going to try something. And I thought it was the best practice, because really practice comes from playing against meta, right? I mean, the best case scenario is to play in a real tournament situation where people are bringing their best, they're playing their hardest, there aren't take backs and, it's okay if you forgot to da-da-da-da. Like, this is kind of how you might practice with your friends, which is great because you want to be able to learn all your options. But eventually you need to be in a sort of an unforgiving situation where, mistakes cost you. So that's why I decided to play the team at the tournament. I had a pretty good experience. So my first round opponent was Devin. Devin Owens, a local person who's been on the show before. Devin's team was Lockjaw, Chase Photon, Infinity at 75, the Skyscraper Wonder Woman at 15, and then he had Cyclops ID, Wolverine ID, Chamber ID, and he was playing Invisible Jet as a train dial. Also had Groot, of course, Groot, There's so many Groots. Like, I think almost every team had a Groot chilling there on Saturday. Great figure. Sprite ID and a Rusty ID. So, you know, you can see a lot of the good stuff that's out there. It's, I think Devin wasn't 100% sure of this team because he's been playing around with it, and he hasn't. He admitted right away to start that he hadn't really been practicing it that much, so he was unsure of how to, you know what I mean? Like, he knew why he put it together, but it wasn't quite how to move the figures and take the actions each turn to accomplish the goals that he needed to. But Devin's a great player. And he's always coming up with interesting ideas. He often gets me with things I don't see coming, and he was doing that in this game. The Infinity idea of reducing speed and range was huge because that really helped him against Unseen, who, as I already mentioned, is a taxi for Cosmo. Well, now it's less distance he can carry Cosmo and less distance he can see himself to be outwitting, to be putting up his smoke cloud when he moves, for Cosmo to be able to affect people. So it was a very good move on his part. It also, you know, my Thor now only has a 7 range for his Mjolnir attacks. He came right out. I sort of got in his face. He was positioning himself. I knew that I had to sort of move. I picked Wakanda. I won map roll. I picked Wakanda. I figured I don't really care about hindering as much. He didn't really have stealth going on his team, and you know, +2 to his defense on range doesn't affect me when I'm flurrying with Mjolnir because it's not a ranged attack. So I had to move right out. He was smart. He called out Chamber early and was trying to take out Cosmo, which I'll say became a theme on the day of every game. People were really trying to take out my dog. So, you know, that started to become personal for me. So, yeah, he busted out Chamber and he did some free poisoning and stuff like that. Also, sorry, I jumped. Sorry, I forgot. Right away to start, he had killed one of my Walking Woods because he did the whole photon pulls her across, and Lockjaw had picked poison, and he just kills the Pog instantly. Like, they outwit the toughness, they kill the Pog, right? Well, I Colossal Retaliate with one of my Groot. I crit miss. Groot dies. So this is my first roll of the whole game. And I just look at Devin, I'm like, so this is going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those. So my second Groot died not long after that on a missed Colossal Retaliation as well, and then he was murdered. So both Groots died really quickly. I was down 40 points, and yeah, it felt like that kind of thing. So yeah, he called out Chamber. He did some poisoning on Cosmo, and that's when I started to sort of really take advantage of things. Walking Woods were plentiful and were sidestepping and flurrying all over the place. Really tying up things. Thor was able to just sort of stand there and shoot through a whole crowd because I positioned them in a nice sort of zigzag that allowed a diagonal to come through. I finally got into a position where I could stop the whole calling over the Walking Woods and then choosing poison because I just kept outwitting poison on Lockjaw before he would ever choose it. I actually then started taking out his call-ins. So he called in Chamber. I think I killed Chamber, or almost killed Chamber. He called Cyclops. I killed Cyclops. He called out Wolverine. I killed Wolverine. So I ended up winning the game with, I think, man, it was tough. I want to say either 120 or 100. You know what? Actually, I can look right here. I jumped to my sheet. I'm looking at the sheets right now. So Devin took 95 from me. Where's my sheet? Sorry, guys. If I knew where my sheet was.
You want some help?
Yeah, Jay.
You scored 125.
There you go. I scored 125. So I think I killed two call-ins plus he used 3 call-ins or whatever. It was that kind of thing. And he had took like 40 or 50. No, he took 95. Sorry, he took 95. So I think he killed my Wolverine and he killed my 2 Groots. And that was it. So it was a really tough match, Devin. It was super close. And it was really on the last action. I think I killed that Wolverine call-in of his on my last action, and that gave me my first win, which was pretty
whatever
cool.
you did to win, it was at the very last possible second.
Yeah, totally at the last possible second. My second game was against Asia, another friend of ours, great player. She's local to the Ottawa area, and she's also come to Origins a bunch of times and Atlanta, I'm pretty sure, for Worlds. So, yeah, great player. And I love playing against her. A lot of fun and great sport. Her team was Shredder Clone. I have faced so many Shredder clones. I don't like Shredder. I don't like Shredder Elite, especially I hate Shredder clones because the -2 and then I kill you but you don't die. But let me tell you, this is a good day for me and Shredder clones. Let's just say. So anyway, Captain America. We know which Captain America. Sam Cap, Peace Machine, Pip the Troll, Surtur, Colossal Call in there, Retaliator, Ms. Marvel, Colossal Retaliator, awesome. I love that. I love that she played that. And Wolverine ID, Jean Grey ID, and Professor X ID. Both Professor X's on the sideline, Chase, Jean Grey, Shark Shredder, of course, and Wolverine. So we know the kind of stuff that's there. I win map roll with my +5, and I pick WizKids Office. I got to say, it's probably my most used and my favorite premium WizKids generated map. It's the perfect map for me to control that whole teleporter popping out, Sam Capu runs and the whole Shredder thing. It's the best map to control it on. I think this Star Trek Underground one is even better, but I never bought any Star Trek, so I don't actually have that map. For me, this is the one. Whenever I face off against that strategy, I pretty much go against that. And a lot of my strategy is I keep my core of my team in the middle. I've got my Groots on the side. I pop out Walking Woods that stand in front and stand to the side to prevent anybody from sort of coming through the filtered ways. I control sort of what someone's going to do, and I have a lot of ways of retaliating and shutting down afterwards. So funnily enough, once again, my 2 Groots died really quickly. That became a trend on the day. In fact, every game, my Groots died, and they would die quickly. And I think I only had 1 or 2 successful Colossal Retaliations on the entirety of the day with my Groots. I don't know why, but they were still so useful to me because those Walking Woods were huge. They really got in her way and were tying her up. She played Surtur so effectively. I gotta say, great placement of it because she knew the whole penetrating damage without actually succeeding on the hits. I mean, that's such a huge thing, right? It's like Colossal Retaliate, fine, -2 to your attack because of Unseen, but then she would do damage, and she kept doing damage that way, and it was big time. But I managed to murder the Shredder clone pretty quickly. Again, with a combination of Thor doing a flurry attack, putting him right onto Shark, and then I called out somebody with Cosmo and came running in and finished off the Shredder clone.
Just a quick second there, Mike.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching right now, I'm not sure what's up with the camera. I'm trying to deal with it right now. I apologize that you get to stare at my ugly, non-talking face while we do this.
So yeah, I can't remember again what my total score. Jay knows what I scored. I know that I only lost the 2 Groots.
You scored 120?
Yeah, 120. So again, it was a situation of I know Wolverine got called in and I murdered Wolverine, and then Professor X also got called in and I murdered Professor X. So I killed both 50-point call-ins, and I got the 10 points or the 5 points each for the ID call-ins, which was my 110 points or whatever. And that was pretty much it. Again, I was pretty lucky in that match. A lot of my die rolls went exactly the way they wanted to when I needed them to. And also, we had a lot of jockeying for position. The game has become really... It's confusing for everybody sometimes. There's a lot of interactions that are there. So definitely there was a lot of moments of like long turns that made our actual interactions a much shorter game. So that's why I lucked out on a win with only low points. My third opponent was this isn't growing big. Go increase. There we go. There we go. I'm just trying to. It wouldn't go big. I knew it was Emily, but I wanted to be able to see her team. So the third opponent was Emily, as we all know from what the guys were saying. She had a very successful weekend, and she played a team that she's been working on for a while. And I have play tested with her. I have lost and won against this team. It's a really good team, though. Ocean Resurrection trait, Groot, Pocket Tank, the Boxing Ring with a Cyclops, Professor X, Iceman, and Wolverine call-in with all the regular stuff on the sideline. So Chase Iceman, the Super Rare Wolverine, only one of the Professor X's, the Brood one, but all three Cyclopses, Chase, Super Rare, and Uncommon. And, of course, Particle Tank and the Shark on the sideline. Emily plays this team really well. Same scenario. I win map roll, so, of course, I'm going to go to the WizKids office. Like I said, it's the best way to control things against a team like that. I'm forcing them to sort of go down paths that I know, and I know how to retaliate. Emily came around. She managed to take out Groot pretty easily with the whole Shredder clone thing. She got a call in out, but wasn't successful with it, and I murdered the call in. Actually, I think she then also took out the second Groot in that same turn. The Groots died really fast, man. I'm telling you, it's so crazy how fast the Groots died in all my games. It's almost hard to remember how they died because it was just you blink and they were gone. But Walking Woods, so good. I'd make them just move forward and sort of make the hallways really tight. I pulled off the same thing again with flurrying on the Shredder clone, hitting him 2 times, putting him onto the Shark, doing a call-in, using the call-in to murder the Shark. It's the best way. You just got to like do a whole heaping a lot of damage really quickly. It's the best way to get rid of that. I was in a good place on points. There was some jockeying around. It was a tough match, and Emily actually took again only 40 points from me with the 2 Groots, and I think I took about 120 points that time. Jay, round 3.
You got 210.
210. Wow, that was my biggest points there. So some murdered call-ins again, and the oh yeah, it's because I got the big points from the Shredder clone. And then 4th round, I was against Jimmy. I got to say, again, we talk about practice. Well, not only practice, but research is really important too. Something I did last year was I started paying the $3 a month for Majestic's Apex Predator subscription, reading the articles, great articles on there. What's great about it is people post a lot about teams and winning teams and strategies and how these teams are played. And this was a team I read about, and it's Deadpool. It doesn't matter what Deadpool really that's on there to start, but lots of Deadpools. But the one with X-Men, 2 Super Rare Wolverines at 50 points, Super Rare Cyclops at 50 points, Moira McTaggart, Lilla, and Enchanted Crowbar, plus 2 call-ins, Cyclops and Wolverine. Actually, no, I think he had 3 call-ins, but he ended up having to lose 1 because he had brought the wrong sideline.
So the problem right now with judging is that primes are so uncommon, you almost don't notice.
Yeah.
So he had he obviously had prime Deadpool and then the Professor X, and I didn't notice. Also, he showed up last minute and was filling in his sheet when we were already at like 12-10. But regardless, that's on me.
Yeah. So unfortunately, he was full points, but ended up being 5 points under Bill because he had to lose his Professor X ID because he didn't have anything to call in with Professor X ID. But I knew this team was a very aggressive team. He won map roll, and he chose it's like that Civil War map with the whole bunch of elevated in the middle, and you sort of got to work your way around. It's like a weird shape in the middle and stuff like that. Sorry, I don't remember the name of the map. Actually, he's probably got it written on here. It's final. The chemical plant, or is it
chemical
final
plant?
battle?
The pink one.
Yeah.
No, wait, wasn't it?
It's that or it's final battle. I think it might be chemical plant. Anyway, whatever. It's a really annoying map. But I just sort of sat back in my area. I could see, where the level elevation changes were, so I made sure to throw my walking woods forward in such a position that there was no way to do call-ins of Wolverines or whatever to charge around them. Some strategic smoke cloud. I thought about getting aggressive and throwing Thor up to the top, but it was not going to be a good idea. We'd have got eaten alive. Instead, he did manage to get some hits on me from above. He murdered both my Groots with ranged attacks, because he was on the higher elevation and the Groots can't really hide anywhere. And once he sort of came in like that, I did the same thing again. I started going after call-ins. Unseen was fantastic on the map because he didn't have to move anywhere to be outwitting on the higher elevation because he ignores elevations. So he was having a lot of fun with that, getting rid of certain powers. I actually was up on points because he took the 2 Groots and I had killed his Wolverine call-in. So I had 55 points and he had 40 points, and I could have sat back. But at this point in time, we were playing 4 rounds of Swiss, and we were both 3-0, so we knew we were both in. There was only 14 players at this event, so all 3-1s are going to make it through. So this was really, let's see what the team can do. So I became aggressive, and I went up top. Cosmo finally died. In all other games, people were hurting Cosmo, and he never died, which was fantastic. And but this time, sadly, Cosmo died. I was pretty heartbroken, but enraged the rest of my team. I had like 1 walking wood left unseen in Thor, but I just got really aggressive and managed to just take enough points on killing, I think it was like another call-in with my flurries, both from walking woods and from Thor. And I took 100 and what did I take? Actually, Jay knows what I took.
In round...
Because Jimmy took 115.
165.
There you go. I took 165. He took 115. So it was only a 50-point win. It was super close. But my team went 4-0 in the Swiss, which was pretty cool. I was really excited. Again, trying out a new team and stuff like that in practice. That was pretty exciting. Now, I don't know if you want me to talk more before you talk about top 8, because obviously I made it into the top 8. I was number 1 seed after Swiss, having gone 4-0 and being the only 4-0 at that moment. So I don't know if Jay wanted to go over the rest of the top 8 first, or how you wanted to do it.
Now's as good a time as any, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start from the...
Before Jay starts, I am still fighting with Google Hangouts, guys. I have no idea what the hell is going on right now. Keep going. They can't see us is the problem right now.
Yeah, I don't... Yeah, because the win is weird where... I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I guess starting from the bottom, according to the top 8 on the win, we had... Derek Rattan, who was top 8 at Canadian Nationals this past year, and as well as some other decent results. He had Fast Forces Giant Girl at 10, Fast Forces Giant Girl at 10, Fast Forces Giant Girl at 10, Main Set at 20, Main Set at 20, Chase Hawkeye, Eric Masterson, with just the Thor on the sideline, no Thunderstrike, but I doubt he used it much anyway. Hydra Cap, Pocket Tank, Tidal Wasp at 50, and then ID cards for Jean Grey, Cyclops, Jubilee, Leech. and I think he forgot to put his sideline down. Okay. And maps were Wakanda, Star Trek, and Genosha. He was picking Genosha like every single time. And I think, Mike, you knocked him out in top 8, if I recall correctly. Not that matters so much.
Yes, sorry. Yes, he was my first round opponent. And it's a tough team because really what he's doing, and he admitted that he found this team online or whatever. He's playing a big numbers game because Wasp is going to do her whole thing where she can make somebody giant. So she makes Hawkeye giant. And then, well, I think right before that, so he's got everybody being Hydra. He makes Hawkeye giant. He's going to pick the map he wants every time because he's got a +9 to his map roll with being an Avengers team and all those Avengers on there. He throws Hawkeye out. You can't hide anywhere from Hawkeye. And he just starts blasting away because he calls in Jean Grey, who TKs him forward. And bada bing, he just starts laying waste to you. So I knew it was going to happen. And all I could do was sort of put myself in a position where I knew exactly where Hawkeye was going to be and shooting and try and screw it up a little with Smoke Cloud. Of course, he was giant anyway, and my brain afterwards was like, oh yeah, he's just going to run through that Smoke Cloud anyway. Sigh. But I also had positioned my figures in such a way that I knew if I survived it, I'd be able to kind of get next to him with Walking Woods and retaliate on him. Plus, he'd be in range of Unseen. He'd be in range of Thor. And Thor's got Mjolnir, and Thor's not going to die. He's only going to get one hit on Thor. And even if it was some big hit and he hit onto his stop click, he's going to be in his stop click. So he's going to be able to retaliate. I got lucky in that he murdered Groot. He murdered all the Walking Woods but one. One rolled shape change. All the rest didn't. All died. I think he missed Thor, and I think Unseen actually rolled out. He hit Cosmo, but Cosmo didn't die, and Cosmo ended up on the power where I can say you can't take power actions. And I made sure that I killed Hawkeye immediately in retaliation. So in spite of the fact that he came out and did everything he wanted to do with all these hits, he had only scored 40 points because he only killed the 2 Groots. Meanwhile, I killed Hawkeye, so I've got 65 points. And I started outwitting and also saying certain giant girls couldn't take power actions, so he wasn't able to Colossal Retaliate. And then on the turns where he could Colossal Retaliate, the only person he could Colossal Retaliate on was the Walking Woods. And he didn't want to do it because he didn't want to put those giant girls in position to be killed, which is what ended up happening. At one point, I actually managed to call out Iceman and was able to pulse wave his entire team except for Wasp. And I only rolled high enough to hit the two Leslie Evans pogs that I had given him from my Groots, and one other like totally insignificant. I think Eric Masterson, and I killed Eric Masterson. But our game was ridiculously close on points. There again, it was one of those situations where I managed to kill the Hawkeye. I managed to get a lucky break where he tried to break away with Hydra Cap and come and kill Cosmo, and he failed the breakaway roll multiple times. I made him use up all his theme probs very early, and I just eked out a win. It was a really low point win. Jay will know what the points are again. I didn't write them down because I suck at this.
Oh, I don't have the points on his end. On your, I don't think you guys marked it down.
That's weird.
Because it was single elimination. That it doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah. Well, I know he only took 40 points because he took 50 points because he killed 2 Groots and I did 2 ID call-ins. That's all he had got.
Then the one I'm missing one sheet. But that was Kyle, who was running Unimind with Eternals of, if I recall correctly, Thena, Thanos, Cersei? So slightly suboptimal, but I guess he just didn't have Makari, although Running Shot and Hypersonic are differently good on Unimind. But he had no theme because he had a Surtur. He had Unseen as well, and a Groot, I think. Can't remember. But he went 2-2 in Swiss, I think. Because 2-2's made it in with the numbers.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of people.
Yeah, I have less information. Then we have Jimmy, who I guess was playing a very similar team to Kenji, like the same main force, just the difference is theoretically the ID cards. I don't know what Kenji. I can't remember what Kenji was playing. And he forgot to, or I don't know if he didn't know or if he forgot maps, but he had to grab a random map from the map box. And that was, he went 3-1 in Swiss and then lost to Drake. Asia, where's Drake? Oh, Drake was also top 4. Oh, whatever. Asia, you mentioned her team. She played it pretty well, although I think there was a lot of bad dice. Like multiple times she asked me a question about what happens with Surtur's effect after he died. One of the times was what happens with Mystics and Surtur and his secondary effect, and what happens with the critical miss. So her Surtur was not having a good day. We have Drake, who had not played, and he said a year since the last Canadian Nationals. He had Fast Forces, Penguin, Anarchy, Haha Joker, which becomes a Gotham City themed team because all those characters have Gotham City. He had as well a lot of Pogs. He had 2 Ape Green Lanterns, 2 Ape Supermans, 2 Serpent Spider-Mans, 1 Moon Knight, a Serpent Punisher, and then a whole bunch of IDs, Professor X, Wolverine, Cyclops, Jubilee, Sync, Skin, Leech, Rusty. He went 2-2 in Swiss, beat Jimmy in top 8, lost Emily in top 4. That was just not a good matchup for him because she could just kill Pogs really easily. Anarchy died fairly quickly, but he basically played it as good as he could. And then for the end of top 4, we have Devin with the aforementioned team. 3-1 in Swiss, lost to Asia, like barely from what I heard. But also he didn't really care because he thought he didn't need the qualification because he had previously won an open. But yeah. And he couldn't play the team that he wanted to because I was already lending out my Mjolnir and he wanted to play a different thing with Mjolnir, but he did really well with the team that he had. And then we have your team, Mike, and you're here. And Emily, who went 3-1 in Swiss and then obviously went undefeated to win the tournament because I don't know how you would lose in single elimination and win the tournament. But pretty diverse field. We had 14 players, probably because Canada Day weekend and whatnot, but still, decent numbers. I guess back to you for your top 8. Or I guess top 4 now that you already talked about.
Well, I faced Asia in, so it was a rematch in my top 4 match. And she played way better. I've said it a million times. It's great to face off against teams that you face off in the final, the top rounds in Swiss, because especially if you lose, it gives you the opportunity to figure out how to beat those teams. I mentioned it in the story when I talked about my provincial win last year, that it was squarely because I lost to Derek Radan's team in Swiss that I was able to figure out a way to beat it when I made it into the top 8, and getting past that team was how I really believe that I went on to win the whole thing, because that team was evil, all those Penguins. So anyway, she played super aggressive. She came right across. I picked the office again. I won map roll again. She came right across the map, used her shredder really well to murder a Groot and a walking wood quickly. Took out another Groot quickly. Again, I'm down those 40 points again. It's like, boom, I'm giving up 40 points in the first 2 rounds every time. It's a little scary. And then, like Jay mentioned, her dice were just not being friendly to her. And I was getting lucky on a lot of key moments for myself. I managed to get rid of that clone shredder again. Can't remember. Actually, yeah, I did eventually get rid of the shark, but it took me a lot more work. It was much more of a sort of a slugged out battle. And yeah, Asia played so well. And it literally came down to, again, like the last moment. I had like one last action and managed to take something out. And it was her turn. They called last action, and there was just nothing in that moment that she could do to actually take the points that she needed. But wow, so figured out so many things to do against my team, and she really, in fact, helped me learn more about my team because of how amazing she played hers. And then I don't know what happened in the other top 4 match between Emily and, was it Drake at that moment, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
But Emily won, I assume, because then it was the top 2 and it was Emily.
Yeah, that was not a game that I expected to go Drake's way. It didn't seem like a thing that could really happen. It was just not a good matchup at all, unfortunately. But he played it as good as he could have.
Yeah, I mean, Shredder, I'm sure Shredder Clone was laying waste to Pogs very easily.
Yeah, and he also he really messed with Professor X because Professor X just targets everybody, then gets the -2 attack for everybody. So it's not helpful.
Yeah. So it was another rematch again, and once again, big kudos to the player for figuring out things to do against my team. I won map roll. I picked the office again. And Emily came a different path, and I will say that I figured out a way to stop what she did next time. But she made a really smart move, opened up one whole side, and managed to actually hurt Thor early. And the key to that was she hurt Thor early, and then she got dust out there with the smoke cloud really quickly, and I was actually trapped. I couldn't move Thor. I didn't have the means to move Thor to get him away from the smoke, and she was chipping away at him with the smoke until she eventually took out Thor. And that was really it. Like it was so close on points. We were in the final minutes. It was Emily had 150 points, and I had 120 points. And I had Clone Shredder about 3 clicks away from death, turning into Shark Shredder, and I called out Iceman. And I had a choice to go one way or another with my Unseen and my Cosmo to get them out of the Pulse Wave. And what I should have done was back up down the hallway to a position where I could have used Unseen's prob. But instead, I went over the opposite direction to try and shut down Sam Cap's calling in ability by using Cosmo's special power. It says you can't take a power action. The reason why I say I should have done the other thing is because I missed the Pulse Wave by 1. And if I'd hit the Pulse Wave, it would have killed Clone Shredder. And because it was a Pulse Wave, he wouldn't have brought out the Shark. And I would have scored, 65 points?
75 plus 10 for the optional trade.
Yeah, and I was only down 30 points. So I lost. Emily played so fantastic with that team. Oh, my God, I got to give so much credit to her. She was aggressive. She was smart. She had me on my toes. I was scrambling to figure out things. I was struggling. And once I missed with that Pulse Wave with the Iceman, it was all but over. I was just now running away and trying to prevent her from finishing off my guys. Fantastic play on Emily's part. And it was a great game. I really enjoyed the game. It was so much fun. It's always great to play against a good player and a good sport. So big time congrats to Emily. I think she really deserves it. She's been working very, very hard on this team.
Well, yeah, because she's been playing Sam Cap since she came out. So
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, Emily is the nicest person with the meanest stabby, jump across the map and do all the things.
Yeah, her team's really mean because there's so much stuff she can do with both the shredder and the free smoke cloud damaging from dust. And on top of that, I mean, smoke cloud, -1 to attack if you don't have a means of ignoring that whole thing. So that's brutal. It's very effective. She plays it so smartly. But I look forward to playing her again because I have some ideas now after that loss. So rematch, Emily, at Nationals, Final 2.
So big scale here, guys. And again, folks, I'm really sorry about the lack of picture today. It's going to make our previews really difficult to talk about. But overall, your takeaways, guys, it sounds like there's an openness to the meta, and that it's going to take a smart player to kind of get around what is there. But there's a lot of great ideas out there. It's what I'm hearing anyway. So it's
I agree. I think so, totally.
Anything you think going into Canadian Nationals you might have to change your opinion on or anything like that? Jay, we'll start with you.
I feel like the Canadian scene is more, or it's less weird stuff than it used to be. Like, it was always a joke that Canadians would play like whatever they wanted, pretty much. But I feel like, I mean, a good number of the top 8 are going to nationals, as far as I know, and it seems like we have a lot more players now that actually keep up with the meta, read tournament reports, see what's going on, all that stuff. So I feel like you don't have to be worried about the randomness factor as much.
Okay, awesome. All right, so how do we work this preview thing? I have tried at this point. I have tried allowing all cookies that are sitting in Google Hangouts in, and it's actually made the apps within Google Hangouts start working. I have tried refreshing my browser about a dozen times while you guys were talking, and I've tried just about everything short of stopping it and then restarting the stream, which I don't want to do because that's obnoxious. And every time we do it, it's a hassle to get in and out, and we got to keep track of questions and everything. So we're going to try to do our best with this blank screen. So, folks, imagine you're listening to an audio podcast today, and I'm going to have to work like those guys do. And on that note, we're talking Batman, the animated series set, and how it looks overall. We'll start first with the uncommon Renee Montoya. I'm going to share my screen with you guys in the meantime, just so you guys, in case you guys don't have it open or anything like that, it's right there for you. All right. So she has the Gotham City detective and police keywords. She's an uncommon, figure number 18. She does have the police team ability. Excuse me. And she's got a special movement power on her first 2 clicks. This is a crime scene. I'll need statements. It's sidestep, and opposing characters within 3 squares of line of fire must roll for breakaway when moving as if they were adjacent to Renee Montoya. They can still automatically break away. So she's kind of got a 3-square, you got to break away from me thing. Her first 2 clicks come with energy shield with a 17 to 16 defense, as well as 2 damage each with enhancement, and the first 2 clicks have that special sidestep power. Her last 2 clicks have sidestep and willpower and 1 damage with range combat expert, and her attacks are 10 for the first 3 clicks and 9 for the last click. She comes at 30 points. Mike, what do you think of Renee Montoya?
I'm sure that if you pull her in a sealed, that you'll find a means of putting her on a team because, she's helpful, shutting down some people, enhancement to help with some range, low points. Obviously, the set's going to have a ton of Gotham City detective and police keyworded figures. So, lots of use for her. Meta? No, I mean, I think there's plenty of other things out there at 30 points that you could use her for. She just looks like a pretty standard second-tier filler generic support piece. Does that make sense?
Yep. Jay?
Yeah, nothing to add. This is it's already a set with low damage, so the PD enhancement's kind of important. And just being able to remote tie up characters and along with her energy shield is really good. So, yeah, sealed, but not really for constructed.
Yeah, it's looking like if you have range on your sealed team, this is where you're going to be seeing her shine. All right.
Actually, you know what? She's so cheap, and like, if you're not wanting to play Lashina and get some point savings in that sort of Beta Ray Bill whatever team, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I just, a lot of what she does, Commissioner Gordon just does better. And I believe Commissioner Gordon from the Harley Quinn set, was it?
Joker's Wild.
Joker's Wild, sorry, yeah. The one George was using.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up, we have the Joker. He is a rare, figure number 42, Arkham Asylum, Gotham City Underworld, and Celebrity Keywords. His trait, Gotham Crime Boss, Leadership and Mastermind. The Joker uses leadership and succeeds. Instead of removing an action token, you may generate a suited henchman. When playing the suited henchman, roll for its trait to determine its starting click. Then he's got a what you see is what you get dial, which consists of sidestep on the first 2 clicks, plasticity on the second 2 clicks, and his last 2 clicks are stealth. He's got the Underworld and Batman enemy team abilities. His attack powers are the first out of his 6 clicks. First 4 have 10 attack with poison, and his last 2 are 9 and 8 attack with nothing. His defense consists of 17 defense on the first 2 clicks, both with super senses, 16 defense with combat reflexes in the middle 2, and the last 2 are 17 and 16 defense with regeneration. Then his damage is 3 for the first 2 clicks with shape change, combined with that super senses. His second 2 clicks have empower and 2 damage, and his last 2 clicks also have 2 damage, have probability control. He's at 80 points. And worth mentioning, somebody at EC Realms pointed this out, and I do appreciate it. The names that were given to each of the powers on the card spell out the words Mark Hamill.
And you can't spell Mark Hamill without Arkham.
All right, what do you think of this figure, Jay?
Well, it's automatically given consideration because the ID card is so good.
Yep.
But realistically, I don't see you calling him in because he's 80, and like there's so many good 75-point figures, including the title version of the Joker. But a call on leadership that because you can roll leadership before he poofs, maybe you get a free henchman. Seems fun theoretically. Poison as a call on is good, but that's going to be literally every Joker. Yeah. Maybe he sees some sideline play for constructed, but for I think you play him for sealed.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah, he feels like fun for sealed. He's got some interesting things going on there. With the ID call-in possibility out there, somebody I'm sure could find a way to, use him in some interesting call-in capacity. But like Jay mentioned, there's so much better stuff out there at less points, like 70 to 75 points. There's lots of great figures. So,
all right, cool. All right, next up we have Batman. Take a look. It's Batman. He's got the Batman family, Gotham City, and Underworld keywords. Oh, also, I'm sorry, I didn't add on because I have nothing to add on. These guys kind of covered a lot of my points. Good and sealed, maybe sideline. Okay, figure overall. Sorry, so Batman family, Gotham City Underworld. He's got a trait, an imposter in our midst. When Batman would be KO'd, roll a d6 and add a number of identity tokens. Add the number of identity tokens, sorry. On a result of 6+, instead of KOing Batman, replace him with figure number 40 Batman on click number 6. This power comes with protected pulse wave. I threw a rock at him. It was a big rock. When Batman is given a ranged combat action using a light object, damage dealt is 3 instead of 2, and then there's another power attached that's free. If Batman is not holding an object, generate a standard light object that Batman is holding. That's so cool. And then he's got another trait, hidden identity, shape change, but succeeds on a 4 to 6. When Batman uses it and succeeds, you may give him an identity token. And then after that, it's standard power dial. First movement click comes with charge. Second 2 out of 6 clicks comes with sidestep with 7 movement. Flurry with 8 movements on click 4 and 5, and click 6 also has flurry with 7 movement. His attack dial comes with no powers and is 11 for the first click. The middle 4 clicks are 10, and the last attack is 9. Then his indomitable defense is invulnerable on his first click with 18 defense with toughness on his second, and third click also has toughness but goes to 17 defense. Clicks 4 and 5 are 17 defense with combat reflexes, and click 6 is 16 defense with combat reflexes. His last 3 clicks are 2 damage with outwit, and his first 3 clicks are 3 damage. Mike, what do you think of quote unquote Batman?
I don't know, man. There's something like I look at him and the dial isn't really anything you're that excited about. You're like, oh, this is a typical brute looking dial that sort of never really works out as well as you want, gets picked off at a distance because, you know, invulnerability doesn't amount to much, blah, blah, blah. But those traits, man, there's something about those traits because just the whole object thing alone, he gets an object. It's like a free action. Boom, here's an object in your hand, and now you can throw the object. It's a light object. So what's that now? 8? You can throw it 8?
That's 6 range.
It's 6 for all.
Got it. 6 raw. So boom, he's suddenly got a light object in his hands that he can throw. So in theory, he's got a 6 range that does 3 damage with 11 attack each time. It's not so bad. And traded shape change that could essentially give him the opportunity to become another figure. I don't know. I think he could be useful. I feel like there's something there. 75 points is not overly costed. It's a quarter of your points on a 300 build. So I don't know. I feel like I want to see more of the set to determine how much value this guy could potentially have in a more competitive setting. How about
that? Cool. Jay, your thoughts?
Well, to start, we don't really have a full picture of what he does because we don't have that Batman dial, which is unfortunate. But yeah, he essentially has traded 6 range because of the trait, or he's essentially really charging 11-4 to start or whatever. The shape change, it's 50-50. Can't be outwitted. It's all good stuff. It feels like fringy realm, like just short of, because he doesn't do anything that translates to I gotta play this figure. Like, he's hard to kill and he can do call-ins and stuff, but there's nothing that makes you want to play him over other stuff.
Like he could be. He looks like the kind of figure like with Book of Skulls still around. Do you know what I mean? Like with things like that would give him some way of beefing up or more moving attack. Like he looks like that kind of figure to me, where just some extra piece on him will jack him way up.
It's like if he was ridiculously undercosted, sure, and the fact that he takes up a prime slot, which is kind of relevant because Professor X Brood is really, really good. So I feel like he's just short of meta.
This is one of those characters that will surprise people when he works and annoy the heck out of people when he works. But when he doesn't work, he's just going to feel like a dead weight. And that's everything about this character. It's like, this is awesome. Oh, I rolled a 1 to 3 on my shape change. Well, now this character sucks. And that's how I feel about this Batman in general. It's really cool, but he's not going to be breaking the world with any kind of competitive play. And it's okay to be good, just not that good kind of thing. And I know I'm gonna play a ton of this guy at local tournaments and stuff like that, and he's gonna do work, and he's gonna annoy people. But in the meantime, when we talk about things like a national level, I'm probably not gonna see him.
Yeah, as far as casual goes, there's not really any primes at either of those keywords, so he's not taking away in that regard, so you can just not worry about playing him as far as your prime slot goes.
All right, next up, the Chase Batman. Okay, get it. The chases are good, guys. Knock it the heck off. All right, so we have the Trouble Alert, which we talked about, but some people hadn't caught this episode or haven't caught this on any episodes, and I don't think we're yet showing on screen yet, so let's take it from there and get rid of the chat while I figure this out. And those of you just joining us, we apologize for the black screen. This is a strictly audio today. All right. So Batman has Batman Family, Justice League, and Super Friends keywords. This is another one of Super Friends chases. Trouble Alert, come in Batman. Sideline, and the Trouble Alert is common throughout all the Super Friends. If you miss for the third time on your turn, you can bring this guy in on his blue starting line, which is a 30-point dial. And at the beginning of the turn, if you started the game, courtesy of that trait, at the beginning of your turn, roll a d6 on a 4 to 6, deal him 1 unavoidable damage. And then they all have this weird little quirk about them. In this case, it's stopping to lecture about science, my occasional weakness. Characters that can use Perplex modify attack by +1 when attacking only Batman. Characters that can use Perplex modify defense by +2 when Batman attacks them. And then he's got a special attack power. My utility belt has everything, but smoke is usually best. Smoke Cloud, when Batman uses it and doesn't already have one, give him an idea token. Free, remove a... remove a...
Worse idea, I think.
Give him a worse idea token. Remove a worse idea token and choose a standard attack power. Batman can use the chosen power to take an extra. I apologize for that. This is a big card, and these ones tend to get a little wacky, so I'm staring at it real hard. Outside of that, if you pay 60 points for him, he starts with some running shot. He has close combat reflexes for his first 4 clicks with 18 in defense, followed by 3 17 defense clicks, which ends with 17 defense and 16 defense and willpower. He flip-flops between Outwit on his first 2 clicks with a 3, then a 2 damage on the 60-point dial, followed by a 2 damage with probability control. We cross to the 30-point line, which is where he comes in on Trouble Alert. He's got 2 damage with Outwit, followed by 2 clicks of Perplex, which also have that willpower. He's got standard Smoke Cloud on his last 2 clicks, the special Smoke Cloud on his first 4 clicks, which is 11 attack, followed by 3 clicks with 10 attack, followed by 2 more clicks with 9 attack, all with the Smoke Cloud. His last 2 clicks have a Leap Climb. His middle 3 clicks, which would be starting on the blue line, have Sidestep with 7 movement. He's got the Batman team ability, of course. Jay, what do you think of Batman as your super friend?
I don't think you're ever playing him at full, but as far as the very notable lower line goes, I feel like his weakness trait is just really bad because any headmaster call-in, like a Wolverine, has a 13 attack against him and just doesn't miss. And I'm not sure... Like, it's hard to say that it's bad. I just feel like it's not as good as other chase options. And I feel like the Outwit is not necessarily as useful when you're at the point where you've already missed 3 attacks, unless you have, like, a lot of Walking Woods or something. And then the 1 unavoidable damage to prob is still good. None of this to say he's bad. I just feel like Chase, as far as these chases goes, he's lower on the list.
Okay, Mike, your thoughts?
Jay pretty much covered it. That's exactly how I feel about it.
I do want to point out, though, that his trait problem is covered by the fact that he has Outwit. So if he outwits that Perplex, then he's not weak against the guy with Perplex, because they can't use it when you outwit it.
Oh, I also forgot to mention that, like, he has the attack power, but if you Trouble Alert him in, you have a 50-50 chance that it doesn't matter because you've lost the powers. So. Yeah.
Wonder Woman is still probably the best one I've seen so far, followed by Green Lantern, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
All right. Next up, the Atom. He's got the Trouble Alert trait as well. Justice League, Super Friends, Politician, and Scientist keywords. He's got a special trait. People who are too big, my occasional weaknesses. Characters that are giant or colossal modify attack by +2 against him. I get +2 defense against him as well. He's got special defense power, which he has on his 3 clicks of his Trouble Alert trait, oddly enough. Gotta run, keep fighting, George. Super senses and tiny. As well, he's got a special damage power, which he only has on his 50-point dial, so you will not get this from his Trouble Alert, which gives him leadership, outwit, probability control. And then his last 3 clicks, which come with the Trouble Alert, have Battle Fury with 2 damage, 1 damage, 1 damage. So, but he's got Charge and Super Strength on his Trouble Alert dial, and he's got Pulse Wave to go with his leadership and probability control and outwit on his 50-point dial. Mike, what's your takeaway here on the Atom?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of like him at 50 points.
I think he's good both ways.
Yeah, because like leadership is way useful now, as we all know. Probability control, hell, man, who doesn't like probability control? Outwit as well, sure, I'll have that. Why wouldn't I have that? So those three things are pretty good right there. So I can see me playing him at 50 points, especially with Scientist. That's a great keyword, a generic keyword for him to now get on a team with a lot of support type stuff and make him even more useful. Yeah, I like him. It's kind of weird.
Jay?
As far as Troubler goes, it's unfortunate that he does become tiny there, so he can't really knock back anything. But Battle Fury is really good between Unimind picking it, Unimind with Symbiote, Walking Woods, Professor X Inspiration. So it's not the best Troubler figure, but I do think it's pretty good, assuming you have the stat modifiers to just up it a little bit so he's actually hitting. But yeah, even being able to kill Walking Woods is just pretty good.
Also hard to mind control with your puppy there, Mike.
Or Unimind even, because he does start with that too. The weakness, as long as you don't let him get retaliated on, it's whatever.
Yeah.
So
but at the same time, if you can find a way to use him to score more than 20 points, then all they're getting is 20 points if they retaliate on him.
He's probably the best attacker we have of the Troubler characters, so that's definitely notable.
Yeah. So, but again, not a pushover at 50 points in the least. So overall, this set is like as if this wasn't going to sell enough. They made the chases super awesome. I don't know what to take away from that. You know what I mean? It's so good, and then it's already forcing so many pack purchases. It's ridiculous.
It's a big set too, isn't it? I mean, look at that Adam. He's number 71.
There's like 12 chases. It's crazy.
God,
one of the chases had number 83 on it.
Gross.
No, 73. Robin is 63. Hawkgirl was 70.
It's still, that's a lot of single base figures in a single set. That's a lot of packs to have to get to even start cracking the idea of a full set. So, but at the same time,
as long as they're one per brick, because with this number, they have to be.
They're not going to be one per brick. We all know it better than that.
But there's so many.
That's just going to drive up the need, the desire, the want to get more and more packs. The last time we saw one chase per brick was Trinity War, and that was, I think, by accident. And those were those chases.
Harley, there were a lot of two chase cases, so it was like 1.5 per case.
1.5 is hardly a guaranteed 2 per case. So, like, you felt like you won a lottery when you got 2 chases in a case. That was always the sense that I got anyway. So, I don't know. It's all, like, people were anticipating this set as it was just on the fact that it was Batman the Animated Series. Add in the fact that the chases are so awesome. It's really going to be a standout set. So, the set of the year, sure.
It does kind of look like it's working its way to that. Definitely.
Absolutely. All right. So 2 weeks away, Canadian Nationals. We had WKOs. We've been talking about it a lot today. And we've been practicing our way through our teams and whatnot. And let's talk about teams, but more talk about attitude changes. Like each week, I kind of want to look at it as we go this week and the next week. Kind of want to see where we stand and where we're going. And I also wanted to get a meta snapshot, as it were, this week. And I think Jay's having the top 8 really kind of helps show a certain thing, because we kind of wanted to get an idea of what figures are actually being played in the metagame and what figures you need to be aware of, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't get a chance to write the list out, but I think Jay having this list is important. For instance, we all know the Wolverine is a thing, and that includes Lila Cheney, right? And we know that Groot's a thing, because Groot was played, if not on his own, in multiples in some cases, right? As you evidence. Star Fox is a thing. We cannot deny that. And we cannot deny that the unseen, though not often seen, has not been unseen. So we include those in the shot. We know that mutant mind is a thing. Never stopped being something. And what I was positing as well, like, is that even though the meta is kind of wide open, it could still just be a truncated list of figures that are being used in different combinations, if you kind of get my drift. So that was kind of what I was hypothesizing, but I mean, if anybody wants to refute me while I'm trying to get an idea of this, and every time somebody mentions a figure, I'll put it down on the list as we stand. Let Jay start because he's got those sheets in front of him. Thought he'd be quicker on the draw on this one, to be brutally honest.
I just still feel like Sam is the single best figure in the game.
Oh, totally. Sam Cap.
Sam Cap, yeah.
Because it's Sam Cap, some kind of taxi, and then everything else you could just build around that.
Yeah.
There's so much variety. Like, even once you do Sam, Taxi, and Shredder of Choice,
yeah,
you have a half a team still, and you can do so much jumping across the map. Like, it's...
Mm-hmm. And we've got.
I would not be surprised if we saw a watch list on her soon.
And we have a lot of taxis now too, because we've got Hit the Troll, we got Kite Man, we got Lila.
Yep.
Lila.
But Lila is kind of limited to
X-Men, New Mutants,
right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I mean, people have been finding ways.
I think she has. Well, what? Because she has Carrie. Let me pull her up.
Yeah, she really wants to be on an X-Men.
But only carries for X-Men. But like, that's not. You could do that if you really wanted, but like, I don't know why you wouldn't play another Taxi instead. But yeah, there's so much variety there. There's so much that can jump across the map. She synergizes so well with Wolverine because she crosses the map. Chamber for the poison. It's the pocket tank to screw your opponent's formation. There's so much she can do.
I mean, when it comes down to it, if I just go on taxis alone, that's Kite Man, Rennet, Tilly, Green Lantern, Pip Patrol, Lila Cheney, and Overdrive are probably the ones that stand out the most, in my opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm missing anything.
No, I think you got it.
Yeah, it's pretty much them.
Yeah. So, of course, then we talk about the Colossal Retaliators that we expect to see. We got Groot, like we already mentioned.
Surtur.
Groot, Surtur are like the big ones.
Mangog is a little tough because he's the 30 points. So usually if you're sort of in that realm of points left, you're not necessarily looking, you know what I mean? Like there's cheaper Colossal Retaliators plus an object or plus more ID call-ins if you've still got 30 points left. Yep. But Mangog can be really effective. I
mean, Mangog just single-handedly kills the whole X-Men swarm.
Yes.
Assuming he doesn't miss. But if he hits, that's just, I killed your entire team. Yeah. Like, he's not something you can sleep on.
No. Carnage. We know for sure
Carnage is never going away.
I wouldn't have said Flora Colossus except for, again, PJ Bolin.
You know what, though? I wouldn't group them in with the Colossal Retaliators. Because that's not where they're good.
No, I guess. Fair enough.
I'd put them. I'd include them in the list of figures, right?
Giant Girl. Both,
Giant Girl.
Both Fast Forces and main set.
Yeah.
That's pretty gross.
Can't sleep on a Maridroid. That is a crazy figure.
Have you ever known me to sleep on a Maridroid?
You've been playing a Maridroid since day one, so
I'm an Maridroid hipster, man. I was doing it before it was cool.
You're really cool.
His mom says so.
Whatever she says. But just retaliation, like you can do like Retaliator of your choice, and then still do as many Giant Girls as you feel like. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We have to say, Goblin King is not going away anytime soon. Because we've seen him. He's been on teams. And I think even the guys over at Clixed, you were talking to them this week, didn't they?
There was a 275.1 in the top 4, I think.
That's crazy.
Wait, people aren't playing Darwin. I don't know why. I think Darwin's good.
But I think Darwin answers not enough of a percentage to kind of make the point. It's like when you say, and I don't disagree that Darwin is good. He's a great figure. But the big problem that you run into is that while Darwin is great, Unimind, how many Uniminds in actuality are showing up? So, for instance, in the WKO, how many people were playing Unimind?
It would have been 2 if I was playing, but
so
it was
1. Right?
Yes.
1 Unimind. And then after that, how many Goblin Kings were played across the board?
0.
So, in that case, the Darwin, if you would have invested in Darwin, you would have only had something that worked against 1 dude.
But there was a lot of lockjaws. There was at least 3.
There's that many lockjaws in this country?
Devin was playing it. Adam Buckley was playing it.
I'm super jealous of all these lockjaws that I don't have.
I was going to play it. Lockjaw is a thing. Like, he's just that good, I think, even if you're not playing Cosmic.
I so wish that had been the prize for my WKO.
Let's go back to the lockjaw thing. Darwin does unavoidable damage, correct? Wasn't there some kind of weird loophole with lockjaw and unavoidable damage where you don't lose the tokens or something like that?
Okay, so because it's unavoidable damage, it supersedes any other effect. So if you push with lockjaw, you just push, no tokens taken away. Same with Ironheart now, you could just push her to click 2 for prop. But on the other hand, if you click lockjaw to click 6 and there's an opposing Darwin, he dies. And on top of that, there was a ruling, or I guess a clarification, whatever, that unavoidable damage can't be ignored by first turn immunity. So your Unimind can't pick a power turn 1 and keep it for the rest of the game, and your Lockjaw can still die turn 1. So what you then have to do is you have to push Lockjaw to click 2, which is still a great click.
Yeah,
you're not getting as much utility out of the pick a power. And I think if you're playing non-theme, Darwin is so cheap. And he can do the X-Student trait is great. He's hard to kill. Or on an X-Men team, he is an X-Men character who can theme prop for you. I think Darwin is still worth playing.
Ultimately, too, with Lockjaw, if I don't take the free action and choose a power, I don't take damage from Lockjaw or from Darwin.
Yeah, but then that makes you have to play Lockjaw a little less optimally because you don't pick powers.
Yes, but you've put a suboptimal 40 points on your team.
I put 35 points on my team to make your 75 points less good. I think that's a good trade.
Slightly less good. Lockjaw is not a bad figure on his own.
No, but he's still less good than if he has full pick a power. Less good is not bad.
Yes, but again, you're spending 40 points on the odd chance that I might have a Lockjaw on my team.
35.
35. Why do I think Darwin is 40?
I don't know.
Yeah, Leech is also. I don't know, but point being, I don't think Darwin is bad. I think Darwin is still very much worth playing.
And then, of course, we also got to mention that if I have Asserter, I'll give up 25 to your 35, and you've lost Darwin, and I've taken 1 damage.
You're not wrong there. You aren't wrong there, but that's not everybody's playing Asserter because he breaks pretty much every theme people are playing because what he has. Asgardian Deity Monster Ruler. So he's not on every theme team.
Darn it. One of those only had an entire set that had figures that had that keyword.
Nobody but you is playing Monster. But point being, there's cases on either end where he's better or worse, but I feel like there's enough coverage, and I feel like he's good. I mean, he did place top 16. There was one X-Men team that I saw at Origins that was either top 16 or top 8, I'm leaning towards 16 that had him, and he can theme prob on that team. Or if Emily's team had so much room to play with, or any similar whatever team, I think if Lockjaw becomes more common, or Unimind is more common, or if we get more pick a power, I think Darwin's worth playing overall.
Again, and to one more counterpoint and say FUJ. Theme is important this year. I don't know if you noticed, but some of the best teams, the teams that are hitting the top, are theme teams, specifically the Cosmic theme. Cosmic theme team doesn't fit Darwin. The only theme team that does is the X-Men, and that's the Wolverine, but we also discussed that dies to Mangog.
Right, but I don't know of anybody, out of all of the Origins teams I saw, Matt had one in top 4, Scott Crampton had a Mangog, but are people playing Mangog overall? I
would play Mangog before I would touch Darwin. If I could kill an entire team versus do a damage to a guy who picked the power.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
Yeah, but I feel like if you're talking about playing, I mean, if you want to play Mangog, you're probably already playing Cosmic because he has the keyword. So
why not? It's a good keyword. We've discussed that too.
It is a good keyword, and there was let's see, Mike had Cosmic theme, Devin had Cosmic theme. So 1/4 of these top 8 teams had it.
So I think ultimately all of these are why we're not seeing Darwin. There's so many counterpoints to the fact that like because Mangog can do so much more at the same point cost. We're talking like 7. Even if Mangog retaliates against one guy, that's 7 damage.
Yeah.
That's a lot of damage. I don't know if you do.
Yeah. But are we also going to start seeing more X-Men teams because of the Blackbird?
I mean, I want to say that it would be nice to be wrong about the Blackbird, but I don't feel like the Blackbird's at that level. I want it to be better than it is. And it's the same thing where, I said, Jakeem Thunder's not as good as Zombie Super Skrull. So in the world absence of Zombie Super Skrull, Jakeem Thunder ruled. Is Blackbird capable of ruling in a world without the Quinjet to compare to or something like that, or something else forcing ID cards out? It's just the other trick is that it's harder to get more and more and more ID cards on the Blackbird. Anyway, back to what we were talking about is what
5 out of 8 of these are theme, but if Kyle had better access to stuff, maybe he would go for Cosmic because he asked me, or he was talking to people about playing Unimind, and the obvious recommendation becomes Lockjaw, and then after that you throw in Groot. So it was almost 3/4 of the teams being But if you're playing the Sam team and you don't care about map, like Pip the Troll doesn't care if you have a phasing or a blocking map because he has phasing. So,
all right. So back to where we were here. We're not going to put Darwin on the list because not enough people are playing him, and I don't think he's really worth the consideration when he comes to the point-for-point value on him. If he does show up, he goes in your fringe article at this point. I mean, even Leech, we thought Leech would have more of a showing than Darwin, and it ultimately turned out that 35 points to stop one possible type of team when people are just going to stop playing that type of team is the way to counter that.
Well, the other thing is the fact that you could argue that Unimind Lockjaw should have won because we know it lost to Roll-Off in top 4 and then had previously beat Isaac and Swiss, so it could have won, but it didn't. So that gives it less attention, which means less people are going to play it. So that further, in your favor, hurts the pick-up power counters.
Dice exists. Game exists. Things happened.
Yeah.
This is how it went down.
So my point is
the ifs and buts are not matters. Like, people beat people after the Swiss rounds. It's happened in the past. It happened to me. I beat Tom in the Swiss ROC Canada Cup, and Tom beat me in the final of ROC Canada Cup.
I'm trying to agree with you.
You're not, though. You're trying to make a point. It's like a team could have done it.
I'm saying that Unimind will be less common because it didn't win. So that hurts Leech and Darwin.
Well, that and the fact that Lockjaw is a major portion of the current iteration of the Unimind team. I think that's a big part of, and the availability of Lockjaw drops the numbers of them to a little bit, right? Also, there's a lot of things out there that people are just able to include now that just say no Unimind, right? Because we know we've been talking about this. Flurry and multiple attacks just in general are a good way of dealing with these characters like Unimind or other characters who will have the stop clicks, right? And we talked about how Mangog can kill a team of Wolverines that have the stop clicks. All of them have the stop clicks. But I want to get back to the point of the conversation where we're adding figures to the list. But we just added Lockjaw to the list. We got so just off the cuff here, non-Claws Retaliator, non-taxi figures: Wolverine, Star Fox, Unseen, Unimind, Sam Cap, Shredder Clone, Floral Colossal, Goblin King, Lockjaw. Anything else we might be missing there?
I think Shifting Focus Deadpool is incredible because...
Is he being used?
Yes. Kenji was using him. He was played here. He's X-Men. He has 10 keywords between all the iterations.
Cool. Awesome.
And
Shifting Focus Deadpool. What else?
Clearly, Professor X's.
Professor X's. That's right. Now that's getting into ID card territory.
Yeah, that's not main force.
But that's fine because that's something to consider. Professor X, Chamber, who is there because of Star Fox.
Iceman, multiple Iceman call-ins.
Especially once
Cyclops call-ins.
Double Jeans.
Gene Collins.
God, the X-Men set got such a huge boost from the ID card.
I love it.
Oh, jeez, it's ridiculous. Wolverines, of course, come in IDs as well.
Yeah.
We already have them on top on main force.
Yeah, and they're going to get even better once we get Days of Future Past or whatever. They just keep on getting better and better.
Okay. What else might fall under? Is that it for IDs, or like the definite focus? These are the things that are being played on IDs.
The Joker ID is legal for Nats.
Okay, we'll put that down there. And what is it? Two-Face stop prob, right?
Yeah, but there's not the only version of him that exists is the one that starts with defend, so you might not even be able to attack.
Yeah.
50-50 he can actually attack. Title Harley for the energy explosion, I think is really good.
Do we have? Oh yeah, there is a Harley Quinn. So title.
Yeah, she stops exploit.
These are big maybe questions though as well, right? Because these are just releasing, right?
Yeah, it's not easy to get.
Yeah, not so much the not easy to get, but as much as is it going to be is it something to consider? It's worth a consideration, but it's not necessarily being used. So that's why it goes under maybe along with the Blackbird.
Ironheart is crazy good, as I mentioned before.
Oh, Ironheart, that's a good one to put on the list.
She got a crazy boost. Yeah, because like I said, she pushes to prob, and people still don't know about that. So that's a little bit of a surprise factor thing you can pull.
Yeah. Mike, have we missed anything?
I think we need to, especially after the way Emily played it, we need to pay attention to dust. The fact is that free action smoke cloud that can reduce attacks on your opponents, can help you hide, can damage people. Anytime you can damage somebody with a free action that doesn't require a die roll is huge. We see lots of bystanders and things that pop out bystanders. So again, smoke cloud being able to get rid of a group of them. I think it's a figure we should pay attention to, though. I know it doesn't affect Walking Woods because they have toughness, but still, there are other examples of bystanders it gets rid of. It can do a lot.
And dust can functionally cut off the Walking Woods movements very well if you place your smoke cloud intelligently, because they don't ignore hindering.
Nope.
So they'll stop on the way into the hindering and then have to sidestep after that. You could place smoke way far out on that.
Yeah, like in the game against Mike, she was definitely doing that, restricting their movements. They couldn't do anything.
Yeah. And then if Mike was starting with the Leslie Evans, combine the Leslie Evans with that free damage. I mean, granted,
on the other hand,
for the Colossal,
free smoke cloud to guarantee stealth for your own Leslie Evans.
Absolutely.
And give stealth to Shredder Clone. So dust helps mitigate not having map roll in a lot of ways.
And dust was part of a winning WKO team, kids. So
that's it.
Pay attention to this.
What? Look, she can kill.
Not most you kids, those kids.
She can deal pretty well with a lot of what Isaac was playing because no reducers. She gets because you can't mastermind non-attack damage, so can kill. That's what happened to Thor. That happened to Star Fox too.
That's how she killed Thor.
Basically, everything on this list is worth keeping in mind. The pocket tank is still good.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's
especially
actually
with that
in the
Professor X interaction. That cannot be slept on.
Was that the Pim Tank? Is
back.
Back.
Everything that was watch listed is still good.
Yeah, and that's kind of a good sign of how they did on the watch list. When you take something and say, all right, this is strong. Let's not make it as strong, but at the same time, let's not make it worthless. That's a good job on the watch list, if you ask me.
On the same note, Haha Joker did place here. And yes, he's easier to kill, but he's closer to easy enough to kill for his points. Like, the fact that he's less good is not a bad thing because he was outrageous before. We've done the math.
Like, how many times did I have to tell people that math doesn't make any matter of sense? back in the day. People would just were like, no, it's perfectly fine. He doesn't do that. But yes, he does. Why is he here then? You know what I mean? All right. Last call. Anything you think we were maybe missing?
Give me a quick second. Fast Forces Penguin can synergize really well with those new chases. PJ played it at Nationals to trigger the Tiger thing. And is just good for globally buffing ID cards, which is what Drake was doing. Keep in the starting area, do the call-in, do the punch. Every one of your call-ins is +1 attack and range. Anarchy, I think, is in the fringe area still.
I've heard a lot of he's starting to pop up every so often. I've seen him more now than I've ever seen of him before.
Yeah, because Sam Powell played him in Nationals. Drake played him. I think he's not the hardest to kill, but the way the game is leaning with the swarms of the retaliators and the pogs, he can do a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else? Last call? If you have to explain it too much, it's not worth putting on the list.
Do we like Hawkeye as main force?
Hawkeye has been part of teams, because he's part of a lot of the giant girl swarms, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because they extend the starting area, so his swing is crazy.
Hawkeye. We'll put Hawkeye on there. We'll put a star beside him. But, I mean, ultimately, this is going to be a little bit of a thing that...
I think pretty much, that's pretty much everything I have here.
Okay. All right. So now we take these numbers and we're going to start doing some math that's going to make people puke. So in the current metagame right now, or in the available in Modern, we're going to pull out a calculator here. We have 72 in Spider-Man. And you know what? I won't even include Fast Forces for this number. Plus 5 plus 58 plus 16 with Wonder Woman. Plus 58 in Elseworlds. 19 in Undead. 112 in Mighty Thor. 16, 74 in Harley Quinn. 57, 98, and 82. 755 characters available in the current Modern metagame.
Does that include alternate starting lines or just unique characters?
It includes whatever HC Realms is using. You can ultimately the starting lines will probably modify that by, let's say, 30. So rough number, we'll put it down to 725.
Yeah.
So what our list consists of? 39. This was what I was worried about with the resource-free meta. Because we actually take that number and even take our 5%. We're down to 5%.
We halved it since you last did this?
Since I last did this number.
Woof.
Is that right? Yeah, 5%. 5% of the game. And that's not like an average percent. That is 5% of all available figures. So this is one of those things, and this is not to say that this is not a varied meta. It is. Each individual team is played differently, built differently, functions differently. None of this is samey, but there is a very limited number of figures that really stand out in the game. Some of them kind of relegated to sideline levels, right? Because if we take away what we relegate to sideline levels, we lose another. Was it one? We lose another like 6 or 7, maybe 8 figures out of the list. So we're down to like 40 main force figure, or less than 40 main force figures that we're playing. The number drops a little bit more, below 5%. So,
I should have gone through individually and counted up. But yeah.
Yeah, and then our numbers get equalized again to the 755.
Wait, sorry.
Include Fast Forces.
What you said, you base this off of HG Realms, but they didn't update to Modern. So
that's okay. Modern stops at Spider-Man. I'm smarter than that.
Okay, so you did the numbers properly. Just making sure.
Yeah, he just counted the sets, because if you do a search of Modern with HC Realms, it comes up to 2,298 because it hasn't been updated.
Yeah. So
okay,
I just went on the set numbers. It looks like the set numbers on the top is the numbers that we get out of it, and that's actually the number of figures, not necessarily the number of dials. So it's The number is averagely, and this is
to be fair, there's actually technically a few more figures because you don't know the exact number of both WizKid Marvel and WizKid DC figures that are legal versus not legal out of the numbers at the top.
Our numbers drastically fall again on that.
Yes.
And then when we if we equalize back to 755 when I can include Fast Forces, so that number actually goes down from the 5%. So that being generous at 725 modern age figures is actually a much bigger number.
Yeah.
And that percentage is actually a much smaller number of what we're using of the game. Now, I'm not complaining, but what I'm saying is this is actually good for the newer competitive player. This is the time if you want to become a competitive player because there is less knowledge that you need. And that's a good thing if you're just entering competitive play, because one of the daunting tasks of the resource meta is that, oh my gosh, there are so many possible combinations of teams. That's really difficult for a new competitive player because you can't plan for that. So ultimately, you just have to build your team and hope for the best. Now we kind of know what exists in the game. And then I'm hoping that people listening to me talk and want to prove me wrong actually kind of extend that list a little bit more. There might be some things outside of these that actually have answers to some of this. Maybe there is a build with Darwin that also uses Mangog and counters a bunch of stuff. Right? I kind of want to bring this awareness so that people know this is what's there. We know what's there now. We know what's available. Be ready for this stuff and either be ready with this stuff or be ready to play against it. I like doing this. It's fun. I hope I'm not like ruining everybody. So we take this information, Mike. Where are you blown away? Or are you kind of like, oh, I didn't see that coming? Or
no, I pretty much felt that that's where I was at. I felt like we were seeing a lot of the same stuff, same combinations. I felt like, there's like, not to put a specific number, but it's almost like in my head, oh, there's like 6 team concepts going on right now that I need to prepare for, versus, so the come right up in my face with that whole taxi drop people off shreddery thing. There's the Unimind strategy. There's the chase figure flurry Mjolnir strategy, which is a sort of an offshoot of the Mistress Death idea, where you've got your sort of main figure who gets Mjolnir and you're sort of supporting that figure. Like there's a couple of things you have to prepare for, and like Jay's saying, if you have less to worry about, then it gives you a better opportunity to get into it and get your feet wet and figure out what a competitive environment is like. And then as it expands out again, you've already learned enough and you'll be able to expand out with it.
We also don't want a meta that's solved where we have one team. Like we've been there before.
That's not good. And I don't think we need resources necessarily back in the game, but this is what happens when you take something like that away and we are stuck relying on the dials. It is now on WizKids to make the dials more playable, and we're going to get this flip-flop, guys. It's extra sideline elements means more varied variations, but then you need the dials on the board to be more playable. And part of that does, my big complaint is you can make simple characters in the common and uncommon slot that are good. They just don't have to be complex. And, I'm just drawing attention to it. That's all.
I'm just thinking now, like, is there anything in the Batman set so far that's main forceable? Like, is there?
Well, I'm not going to completely poo-poo the Batman Beyond comment. He's pretty okay.
He's all right.
I like the Clock King.
The Clock King is another. I have to take another look at him to see what he actually does.
But he's not like the figure you build around. He's a supplement. He's a support. There's no right, but it's not like that sort of figure will change everything.
Scarecrow's another one that really kind of drew my attention, because I think Scarecrow in combination with Dust, in combination with all, like, you can probably come up with a pretty good smoke cloud build that might be competitive when you include Scarecrow, Dust, and all of a sudden Space Mikey. Fill the world with clouds and then call it the fart team or something like that.
Oh, God.
That name stinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, on that same note, you can start to do a non-attack damage team. Like, there's so much of that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what you have so many shredders. You could do Frogman or Sand for Force Blast. You have Dust. You have characters that don't need to hit. Like Surtur doesn't need to hit to kick off his thing. Is penetrating damage? Carnage doesn't need to hit. Like, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't even need to hit. So.
Carnage doesn't even need to attack. You shape changed. Okay, cool. Have this guy to deal with then.
Yeah.
Ameridroid's the same thing. It's like, well, I missed. I wasn't going to hit anyway. And all right, you go over here.
Yeah, and like what? If you're playing with whatever, let's say you're playing those kind of figures, you still have Surtur with a 12 attack and Shredder Clone with a 12 attack, so you're less likely to miss. Like, we're seeing less 12 attacks in the good stuff, I feel like.
And also, this isn't a question, but Happy Heroclix does point out that those 5-point henchmen, they have warrior souls in them.
Oh my god.
Oh, that sounds hella good.
Right.
I am so glad the screen is black right now because the face that I just made would embarrass everybody. I also hope that we're doing a good job of being big voices in this particular episode, guys. I hope we're not being big drags by not being seen. Jay, your takeaway from this information that I just crushed your soul with?
There's less than I would have hoped for, but more than I thought. Because when I was on Critical Clicks before Origins, we basically boiled it down to like 5 archetypes, and even then 2 of them were kind of similar. So, and actually seeing the results at Origins and at this tournament, and from what it looks like, I feel like the reality is a little bit better than the numbers, especially because we all know a lot of the very good competitive players will build their own sort of thing and still do well with it. Like, if you hand Easton whatever, he'll still do well with it. So
if I hand Easton a pile of rocks, he's still going to win a Heroclix tournament with it.
If you give an S-tier player hyper-time figures, they'll do okay. But
get some gravel from the parking lot, Easton. Could you go win for me?
But yeah, I feel like the reality is less bad than the math.
Yeah. And that's not, I didn't want to scare everybody with the math. I did just kind of want to draw attention to the fact that I was right.
Of course.
I like to do that because I have a massive ego and just need to be validated all the time. Truth be told,
you're saying you're playing Ego Prime on your team?
Yes, absolutely. I'm playing Ego Prime on all of my teams, and you should not take that as a lie. Anyway.
I mean, it's your perfect figure. It makes all the pogs, and
it does make a bunch of pogs. That's true. I mean, okay. Is it any surprise that my team does involve a bunch of pogs, and I had to put in a big order with Big Bully Games this week?
Yeah.
Is anybody surprised by that?
How crazy!
What an unexpected twist.
And, you know, it's a shame I don't get to do it with Devil Dinosaur, but...
I think Devil Dinosaur is not a bad play right now. And Failbow, we're playing... At least 2 out of 3 of them were playing it. So I think Devil Dinosaur's days are not done.
Okay. So that's kind of where our heads are looking at into the future as Canadian Nationals around the corner. And then that math kind of just... focused us now. We now can look into that and go, this is stuff that we need to deal with, and we now know we got to do going into it and know how to prepare. And there, at this point, anything that's might also show up is going to be stuff we're aware of and know how it works, and we'll just kind of go, oh, right, that one. I didn't think about it, but I know how this figure works. I think at this point that's where we stand. Okay, so. It's time to answer questions. Before we answer questions, if you want to support us at patreon.com/Heroclix, please do so. We have multiple tiers. Like last night when we had our Patreon Hangout, anybody who's a part of their Patreon can join in on that, assuming Patreon servers are working, because last night they were not. That was a little embarrassing, and I'm glad the Patron Discord, which you also get in at all levels, was functioning. So I was able to hand out the link to the Patron Hangout so people could ask us questions as they like. We also have the Discord so they can ask questions through text if they're a little camera shy, which is also very cool. At $5 range, you get early access to filmed content, or sorry, pre-recorded content that myself and Amber do make on a regular basis, semi-regular basis. More regular these days because I have found something of a schedule inside of my busy work schedule, and it was really interesting to find that little particle, as it were. And at the $10 range, you get all of that, plus these neat little action tokens that we've been making monthly for our patrons. They say patron and the month and the year that you were a patron, and Married with Clicks on the front. And the designers over at League Bully Games have been making some pretty fantastic designs of late. They all look very pretty. So, without further ado, we start with the Facebook, facebook.com/MarriedWithClicks if you want to join in and check our fan page. We also have the Married with Clicks community group, which you can join as well, where we also send updates and where more conversation is had. The fan page is more for news updates from the channel. But we go in here and we start. Oh my gosh, she's back. Ladies and gentlemen, in his absence, Chris Stockhouse, put a stamp on it. It's official episode now. All the other episodes up to the Hiller were fake. Sorry. So he starts. Sorry, I've missed the last couple of weeks. My last couple teams haven't had any probability. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I have missed the last couple of weeks. And he gets right into it. Usually he has a big thing to say. My last couple teams haven't had any probability control on my team. Should I get rid of my current trend and go with all the probability control? If so, what prob pieces would you recommend? So probability control is dependent on, I guess, how big you can get your attacks in most cases, but at the same time can turn a critical miss into not a critical miss. And that's always a good thing. It also turns your opponent's critical hits into not a critical hit because Super Senses isn't stopping that anymore, guys. So long and short of it is you have to see how your team is doing without it. And then you have to meter the odds and check if your practice is correct, because that's another thing. Correct practice does involve, okay, I hit 3 critical hits this game. My next 4 attacks have to be misses or something to that effect to equalize out to the actual averages. In a real tournament, don't do that, but do that in practice that doesn't involve a tournament. So you kind of get a feel for what it feels like to miss. I wouldn't say all the probability control, but some of the probability control can work. Sources of probability control right now, there's still Domino from the Fast Forces of Deadpool and the X-Force. There's also the Dupe main set are really low-cost probability controls, if that's what you're looking for. Mike, anything you want to add as a good source of probability control?
I think we know what I'm going to say. Unseen, 65 points. He's got outwit, probability control. It's a prob that ignores everything except for walls and blocking. So not only can you help your own guys out 9 squares away, but you can screw up a roll on somebody else 9 squares away. Yeah.
I gotta say, when they made the Unseen, I feel like they said, let's see how Nick Fury can do if he can't attack.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because it is Nick Fury as a character.
Yep.
He doesn't attack. And he calls in something and they get prob. That's fine, I think. That's okay. Jay, anything you want to add to the list?
Oh, it's so hard because she breaks all the themes, but I don't know if theme is mandatory right now. But I don't think you can not go for Ironheart as far as just 25 points. Yeah, maybe she takes 1 hit to die, not including the push. Maybe she takes 6. She's already won Worlds, and she's even better than when she came out. Wit's better, Prob is better. She's even better on Earthbound because she can still carry. Like, literally, this figure is so many times better, and it was already good to start with. So,
yeah. So, there's a couple ideas for you. Outside of that, Chronos might be a consideration. I'm not saying definitely go for Chronos, but Chronos is 9 range with probability control. And in addition to his probability control, he has an extra trait, which he also gets when he dies. If you miss by 1, you get a reroll. God knows how many times I've said, if only I hadn't missed by 1. Thank you, Chris. Nice to have you back. PJ Bolin has a thing. I miss you guys. Miss you too, you little ginger freak. Who all is going to be at Canadian Nats? I'm going to be at Canadian Nats. Mike, you going to be a Canadian Nats?
Oh, for sure. I already have my qualification for the final day, so you believe it.
Yeah, me too. I think I'm planning on doing battle royales in my pajamas. How about you?
Yeah. Well, Tom and I were thinking of driving in early Saturday morning, so Yeah, we'll be pretty tired, and we'll probably just be zombies doing battle royals all day Saturday.
Awesome. Jay, how about you?
I mean,
all right, awesome. No, I'm just kidding.
I was talking with PJ about teams for nationals already, so yes, PJ, I am doubly confirming that I'll be there.
But PJ wants you to tell everybody else. PJ's trying to be part of the show, man.
Yeah, nobody else is as important as you, PJ.
He's trying to be the part of the show still, man. All right. Next up, Micah Fedor, the Alpha and Omega, I'm sure, patron. He's been here since the beginning. He's been supporting us for a while. He uses a better mic setup than I do because I just have this thing. And he has this whole like radio show mic that's hanging over his thing. It's just, you go watch the Patreon Hangout from yesterday. You can see it in action. It's very pretty. We all like to talk and debate the comic accuracy of game pieces. Is the Avengers Infinity Hulk the best representative of Hulk sculpture and of stats? If not, who do you think is the closest and best iteration? I personally have to take that Green Hulk, take away the jump, the leap, climb, and quake as a power, and take the Red Hulk's trait, and then you got it right. Everything else, though, is pretty cool. Like, it's a very Hulk-like dial, especially with that stop click on his last click. That also has steel energy, so he can attack steel energy, and then he's just damn hard to kill. It's a great seal piece. That was true. But I don't think he's quite Pinnacle Hulk. I do really like the if he didn't only take 3 clicks, I'd have to say pretty close to Pinnacle Hulk was the one from the Mighty Thor Fast Forces, at 50 points, leap, climb, quake. That's pretty Hulk-like. I don't know. What are your thoughts there, Mike?
I was actually going to mention that same Hulk. I like him a lot at the 50 points with his whole leap, climbing, quake with a 12 attack. I do like that Colossal Hulk. In fact, I played him in a game, and I paired him up with the 50-point Fast Forces Original Avengers Age of Ultron, their Captain America. So I was free moving half his movement and then quaking and then automatically breaking away on an action to move and quake again.
Anybody want to know why Golden Age isn't competitive?
Yeah, right. I actually lost that game to Devin because instead of individually hitting people and killing them, I just kept quaking over and over again with the Hulk. And he had a huge team of guys, and I just didn't take out enough guys, only doing 2 damage. But it was a ton of fun. And it actually made him feel like a real Hulk because that's all he did was stomp around and destroy things and quake things. So Hulk smash, Hulk smash. He's a fun Hulk. I'm not quite sure he's the pinnacle. Probably because for me, he dies too easily on that last click. I don't get lucky with it. Usually there's a follow-up attack, and with the 15 defense, that follow-up attack doesn't miss, and then he dies. So he just always dies so easily at the end that he just doesn't quite feel enough like a Hulk for me.
Yeah. And, yeah. Jay, your thoughts?
My original favorite from the original Avengers Fast Forces is terrible now because he really relied on hypersonic objects, but he's not good anymore. But I liked his options of flurry or hypersonic to just jump across, or close combat expert, whatever. But he sucks now. I like the new World Breaker because he just, he was already peak anger, but the more you hit him, the more monstrous he gets. So you really want to take him out as quickly as possible. Not a fan of a size bigger than standard on Hulk because he's not 20 feet tall and taller than buildings, and that's how sizes work now. So prefer standard size to humongous, colossal, taller than the Empire State Building Hulk.
All right. Next up, Tyler Murrin. Hey guys, wish I could watch live, but sleep. Anyway, you all have a good show. Cool, you're not watching anything today. What are the top 5 ID card call-ins for a Blackbird build for competitive? And what are some honorable mentions if you want to play a casual local Blackbird venue Blackbird build? For casual, I was thinking like Uncanny X-Men, Super Rare Beast, and or Super Rare Iceman, any older X-Men. That's casual?
I don't think the Blackbird can be played in casual because it doesn't do anything if you play it. It doesn't move an attack. It relies on the resources to do anything. And then even if you pilot it, no move and attack, and then your Cyclops pops out with +2 stats. Like, that's never casual.
I somehow feel like Tyler may have casual be listed as Golden Age because he's
Yeah.
the Uncanny X-Men figures. Which, okay, yeah, it's pretty gross in Golden Age when you include the Uncanny X-Men. Holy smokes. Because that Iceman and that super rare beast are gross.
Yeah, totally.
But if I was to say top 5 call-ins for the Blackbird in just competitive play, I think we already talked about them, would be Jean Grey, Cyclops, Wolverine, Chamber, and
Professor X.
Professor X.
And then three of those are students, if you include the new Blackbird ones. So you want students, and the inspirations weren't great to begin with, and you save points, so all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Anything you guys can think of in Golden Age that would be interesting for a Golden Age or casual build? Oh, I broke Mike. Mike, you're usually good at this.
It's too wide open, though. I mean,
I know what my favorite would be as far as Cyclops pilots. Wolverine and the X-Men 016, because he already has flavor text referencing Blackbird crashes. But also, his problem is that he doesn't have movement, attack, besides sidestep. So when he blows out of the Blackbird, he's within range already. Already starts with a 4 printed damage, but a 10 attack. So that one turn, you have a 12-6 Cyclops for just the most grossness ever. And he also has the special power where if he hits, that character loses keywords and team abilities. So apparently Cyclops can turn off Power Cosmic.
Yeah, could Dark Phoenix Cyclops get in it? The giant
I was about
one?
to say Dark Phoenix Cyclops is... I mean, I'd almost try to call him in as a real boy. If you could somehow... Why not? He's 295 as peak Badal.
Oh, you said... Was Dark Phoenix and Phoenix 5 are two different things.
Yeah, no. I was
Dark
actually
Phoenix
talking about the. I was talking about the Colossal.
You're talking about the Colossal.
I was on the Clixed off Golden Age discussion, and I was like, I really wish you could do Cyclops because he would be the highest point real boy at 1,000 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that dial doesn't even go that far.
That'd be amazing.
Oh man, I'm just actually kind of looking at Wolverine and the X-Men right now to extend my reach of figures that I could possibly call in. But actually, it's weird. That set didn't have a lot of main set X-Men. Short of, like, there's a Jean Grey in there.
Jubilee is pretty cool from that set.
Sure. Yeah, I guess, you can pull off some kind of call-in with the Jubilee. He's got Energy Explosion, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, Energy Explosion. And then hit characters either choose to be given an action token or take -2 attack.
Sorry, I'm being a dum-dum. The Prime Magneto from Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yeah, that's literally the only way Easy's play.
Oh, man, he's strong. 210-point real boy. Bring it. I'm going to do it. There's my Golden Age.
You're going to roll high enough. You're saying your rolls are going to be good? I don't trust that.
Here's the thing about this Blackbird / Quinjet thing. Your rolls don't have to be good. They just have to be plentiful.
You're not wrong.
You just got to make a lot of them, and eventually you'll get there. And that's, of course, an extreme case. Like, you'd put one big cost real boy in a really big Blackbird tournament, but your goal is to get, like, medium, mid-game figures out there. Mid-game. 100-point figure in the mid-game. Gross. So there's a couple ideas to rattle your head around. Let's get to the chat now because that was Facebook.
Nothing on Discord, even though I asked.
That's okay. Not everybody has to be on all the time. And they, in the U.S. they have a vacation or their own holiday coming up in Independence Day, so people may be traveling for that or getting ready to enjoy that. So we do have a lot of action in the chat. It's really interesting.
I was just clarifying.
Yeah. William Holland has a question. He said, I heard you guys about a team you guys talked about a few weeks ago with Grim Reapers and a way to stop healing. What was the team? It was the Flash God of Death with the Grim Reapers from the Undead set. And what happens is the Flash God of Death says you can't heal, and the Grim Reapers go take a damage and then take one unavoidable damage and then heal. So what ends up happening is I deal damage to you, and then the Grim Reaper triggers, and then you take another damage, and then you don't heal that damage the Grim Reapers usually heal. Because they're doing this thing where it's like, one unavoidable damage, you're dead yet? Okay, you can go back. But because that's an actual heal, the Flash God Death says, no, you keep that damage. And then all your damage becomes one additional damage from monsters, I think it is specifically, though, right?
Yeah, Flash isn't a monster.
Yeah,
But still, you still have points to play around with.
Oh, yeah. You got lots to work with.
All the good retaliators are monsters, pretty much.
Yeah. All right. Nolan Lake, when is Canadian Nationals? I'll probably get destroyed, but still come out. Won't there be qualifiers at any local store like Comic Warehouse? So qualifiers for this Canadian Nationals are going to actually be held at the event. It's going to be in Gatineau, Quebec. Let me just – I was going to pull up the site for everybody to see. But it's going to be the weekend of July 14th and 15th. Yeah.
Yes.
So Saturday, July 14th will be qualifying day, and July 15th will be the actual culmination of everything. So what will happen is there's 4 tournaments being held, 2 constructed, 2 sealed. And then if you place in the top
25th percentile,
top 25% of either of those tournaments, you qualify for the Canadian Nationals the next day. Now that there's 4 of these events, so you get 4 chances. 2 of them are constructed, 2 of them are sealed. So if your constructed team isn't doing so well for you, it's not a bad thing necessarily, but you do have that chance in sealed, and then you come start talking to people in the event. In some cases, you'll get a chance to borrow things. I'm going to be battle royaling all day. You know what I look like. Come see me, and I'll see what I can do about giving you a hand. I'm going to have some stuff extra in addition to my team that I won't mind, kind of helping you out with if necessary. PJ Bolin is also very generous as far as loaning people things. He's planning on bringing some of his stuff. So don't panic if that's the case. But specific address that I was going to be getting, and I was supposed to multitask and get that, but I was also looking at a calendar while I did that.
I'm going to pull it up.
I'm pulling it up right now myself. Official tournaments. We go to the Canadian flag.
4 points by Sheraton Hotel Conference Center, 35 Laurier Street, Gatineau, Quebec, in Canada.
Yeah.
I'll send the link, or I'll put the link up in the live chat.
There we go. Or put the link in the live chat, or if not that as well, we'll put it in the description later on because this is the conversation we're having. And the address and information is all there. You can check it out at win.wizkids.com. If you want to follow that, you go to the organized tournament play, and that will show you some more icons. One of the icons is the Road to World 2018 National Championships. Go find the Canadian Nationals. That has all the information for you. I'd be showing you on screen if I could show you anything right now. This is absolutely the worst day for this to happen.
Apparently, you're not allowed to post links in the live chat. I don't know. I'll post it in the regular comments when it goes archived, I guess.
You can edit the
the description, whatever. Yeah. Sure.
So. In fact, I'll do that at some point in the middle of the next question, which is also, if you are watching live right now, put capital letters question in front of your question, and we will answer it. Because if you look at it, there's a lot of conversation going on. I have to be able to catch the questions. Like, for instance, Creative License. I'm guessing that's your name of your YouTube channel. I'll be in Mississauga for the first 2 weeks of August. Any suggestions on where I can find Heroclix? There's lots of stores in the Mississauga specifically. There's one store called Altered States on Lakeshore. That's actually kind of near where I live. And they do have Heroclix in stock, but they don't do organized play. The closest to Mississauga you can get is either Hamilton or Mississauga. Hamilton or Brampton. In Brampton, the Comic Warehouse, where me and Amber regularly play on Saturdays at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You can check them out on the Win. They do post their events on the Win. And if you get there, you can get on their mailing list or email list, and they do regularly put up emails for that. As far as August is concerned, I'm very wishy-washy as far as schedule is concerned. Canadian Nationals is going to be it, and then I'm like here and at work, like doing this video, or I'm at work. That's going to be my life for a little bit. Hope that kind of answers the question. I think Nolan Lake is another regular in the chat to our store, to the store. So look out for him. The judge there is Aiden. He's a good friend of mine, and has been running things there in my absence of abilities to manage this anymore. Do you know it's hard to run Heroclix tournaments when you have 3 kids and your job goes into crunch? All right. Next up, J Parks XO. Is the title Joker from Harley any good as of late, or with the Batman set releasing? Well, I mean, we have that Joker ID card from the cons. I'd have to take another look at the title Joker because he's a. I've looked in depth at the title Harley. I've seen all of her title a lot. So I have to take another look back.
I don't think he does enough as a main force figure. I think he can be a really good call-in, but just he's a charge piece, and his 1K out is ridiculously bad. I feel like it's ID card or nothing for him.
Oh, okay. Let's see. One of the beauties is that these characters are very deep dialed, so that goes a long way. And he's very hard to hit.
His top dial stats are 8 charge, 11, 18.
Yeah, I got it right here with 18 defense with combat reflexes. 20 defense is not an easy hit in combat reflexes, right? And then his +1 is deal 1 damage to each adjacent opposing character. That's okay. That's a free action. His -1, pick a card, roll a d6, and then on a 1 to 2, move all adjacent opposing characters up to 2 squares, and they break away automatically. 3 to 4, give all adjacent opposing characters an action token, or on a 5 to 6, deal each adjacent opposing character penetrating damage equal to the number of action tokens on them. That could do a lot more than it sounds credit. So if we're talking about just a call-in, there's a lot of potential in that because he attacks or outwits, and you follow up with one of those, or you lead with one of those and then follow up with an attack. And plus, they're not getting their perplexes. So that's some potential. I don't know. Mike, what do you think?
I'm muted. Sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jay. Like, I don't know if he's really a main force kind of guy. Like, he definitely would be useful as a call-in, but the downside to him and how soft he is, I don't feel like he's worth the risk.
Yeah. Main force is a little tricky, but at the same time, getting that chance to call in if you main force them, you keep them back and you try to keep them alive, and then just drop a bunch of Joker thugs in their face could be obnoxious. They're not as good though as the Harleys, in my opinion, because the Harleys have flurry and their attacks don't count towards the action tokens or your action total. Whereas I think these guys have 1 attack with plasticity and exploit weakness. I might be wrong. No, it's just plasticity, so not as well off per se. So it's up to you. If you're looking to compete in the competitive level, probably not a great main force option. But if you're talking about a local level tournament, yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, if you're playing theme, playing with fast forces, paying when to keep on punching,
fast forces
title abilities.
Yeah. Worth mentioning as well, not worth mentioning. Next question, rather, and that was from Happy Little Heroclix. He wants to know: Did you really stamp the episode, or just slap a notebook with your hand? Look, I do slap a notebook, but it is with this beautiful rubber stamp that was made by Mr. Chris.
Not that they can see it.
Of course, I'm showing it to a camera that's not working. I'm holding a stamp. I swear to God.
Yeah, I have mine as well. Yours is bigger than mine.
Well, I mean. you're talking about the stamp. Yeah, okay. Chris gave it to us a while back where every episode we say, okay, you can put a stamp on it, guys. Chris has asked a question because he was the most consistent person in that Facebook post asking us questions. So we used to say, Chris has asked a question, put a stamp on it. It's an official episode. And then somewhere down the line, he gave, we met him at Eternal Games for a ROC. The last chance ROC qualifier, super qualifier, just before Rocktober. And he handed that to me. I was like, this is amazing. So I started using it for every episode. So that's the story of the stamp. Nolan Lake asked where Canadian nationals are. Gatineau, Quebec. Like we said, that information is out there. Okay, and since we're at the bottom and these questions kind of snuck in there, I'm able to see Joseph Leandre. I hope that I'm saying that right. What's everyone's favorite giant girl from the Avengers Infinity set? Giant Girl, Wasp, Heart of the Avengers, or Giant Girl, Fast Forces? I'm partial to the uncommon one myself, just because she's also capable of attacking at a 10-point dial because she's not stuck with Colossal Indifference. That's my opinion. Mike, what's your thought?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I like the uncommon one, and I like her whole healing. And I love the fact that they're so easy to fit her on stuff, right? With all those different starting lines. So, yeah, I like that one.
Okay.
I like it very much.
Jay?
It's hard to say that I want to like the fast forces the most because it demands to be played in multiples, which is hard to pull off because it's fast forces. But just the ability to retaliate on top of retaliation, on top of retaliation, it's pretty nutty.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Nolan Lake, who wants to know our opinions on a high point double Batroc with Blood Axe / Crowbar. Oh my gosh. Magneto Realist, Norman Osborn, Cable, etc. Okay, so you had me at Batroc the Leaper because he is disgusting. I've seen him. I think Mike was actually commentating with me at that point. There was that one game at Rocktober where the guy had like 2 Batrocs and a mini shredder and an overdrive, and he was like double empowering Batrocs.
Yeah. I faced off against that team too at one point when getting my ass handed to me with those double Batrocs. It's tough. Yeah,
there's a lot of attacks. I think they have combat reflexes as well, and they ignore
17 reflexes.
Yep, I like everything that you're saying until you mentioned Magneto the Realist. And then I'm like, what?
This sounds like he wants to throw a lot of cool stuff on. But you also got to remember, is Magneto the Realist, I think his +1 is +1 damage to your entire team. Or is it +1 attack?
It is attack.
It's still +1 attack on all your Batrocs you're hitting.
Still. Oh. This downside, man.
Yeah, it's down. You know, he stays in the starting area and gives +1 attacks until he's too far down. But then by then you can, do his massive thing and whatever.
What, Batroc is 40?
Batroc's 40, yeah.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah. He also mentioned that this is a high point team. Like he's probably talking the 400 or 500 point team level at this point. So it's stuff that doesn't make sense together is what happens there. And you had my heart at Batroc, so go for it. Make it work. Make it happen. Batroc the Leaper.
The Leaper.
All right. Last question here. Creative License wants to know. He wants to give us a creative license on his team here. I just got my Sandcap, and I can really use some help building a team around her. So far, I plan to use Pip and Doc Ock, but as a casual competitive player, competitive is Greek to me. Doesn't look like it's Greek to me at all. Did you find a Rosetta Stone somewhere? Because you're on the right track. Because it's actually a very common strategy to have somebody like Pip carry somebody like Sam Cap or the Doc Ock and just follow up with a ton of attacks. This is a very, very common strategy. I don't know if you stumbled across this on your own. That's okay. That just means you're on the right track. Follow that up with some extra stuff to make sure that your guys hit, and just be careful of outwits when you're going in with your Doc Ock. Don't let them outwit your Doc Ock's flurry because he doesn't necessarily have to be using it in order for them to be able to outwit it. And as a result, if they outwit it, then your double flurry just doesn't exist. So right idea. Keep up the good work, and just message us on the Facebook if you have more ideas that would follow up that. Any advice you'd add to that there, Mike, or do you think he's kind of got it under there?
No, you're covering it, right? We've got the taxi, we've got the Sam Cap for the extra movement, we've got the Doc Ock attacking after being carried, and throw some perplexing in there or some prob in there to make sure, like you said, that you hit. Maybe a little more outwit yourself to get rid of stuff that retaliates. Bada bing, bada bang.
Jay, anything you would add?
I mean, yeah, right track. The more stuff you have there that can do stuff after being carried, the better.
Yeah. I think the only thing we didn't mention is the idea of possibly using some ID cards in conjunction with Sam Cap because she can take an action after being carried, call in a character who might do the job better than her, and use her perplex to make Doc Ock better. It's the only other option I think that we might be missing. All right, that covers it for the episode. And I want to say thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jay, for joining me this week. Look forward to our continued adventure towards Canadian Nationals. And hopefully next week we have picture for you guys watching at home. And I want to thank everybody who stuck with us and went for the full audio version of the Metal Lab. It was an interesting treat, to say the least. But I want to thank our sponsors over at MajesticCCG.com. Check them out, the Apex Insiders. As Mike mentioned earlier, it's a great source of information where a lot of really smart people who are really good at the game of Heroclix are sharing a lot of information. There's also some other thoughtful articles from Jay as well. His Fringe article is a definite must-read if you're not too familiar with a lot of the figures that might be better than you may be giving them credit for, or if there is a figure that you're thinking of are kind of on the wall on, Jay might actually put you over the wall and may help you in that sense. Again, great minds, Easton Brock, Paris Gordon, regular contributors. Daniel Powell's a regular contributor. These are all really great players in the game of Heroclix. We know who they are because they've won major things. This is all run by Patrick Iboko, who's a 2-time world champion himself. MajesticCCG.com is where you go for information. If you tap to add in a /Apex-Insiders, or check out the Apex Insiders from a link in there, $3 a month gets you access to some of the great minds of the game. There are regular free articles, though, that do wrap up tournament reports and stuff like that. So check them out. They've been a long-time sponsor, long-time help for us, and I swear one day I'm going to start writing for them again when I actually get good at this game again. But without further ado, guys, Canadian Nationals is around the corner, so those of us up here celebrating Canada Day are going to take a break today. But after today, it's all about the practice, because practice will make your team better. Have a good night, everybody. Where's that stop broadcast button?